So I want to do a demo video of the special features of the launch codes. The first feature we'll take a look at is that the reset port can be used as a CV port for a few effects. By default, the launch codes is in normal sequencing mode. So if you click once on the opt menu, and you'll see that mode is set to solid on, which is just sequencer mode. If I click it one more time, it blinks, which means we're in special CV mode. And by default, that mode is generate. So in generate mode, unlike the generate mode in the opt menu, it won't write to the sequence. It'll just generate changes to the sequence, kind of mutate the sequence. Going from 0 volts will make no change, up to 5 volts will make the most change. I'm using this little offset down here from the CircuitAbbey NV module, which, at 0 volts, the sequence will run as normal, and more changes will occur as I go towards 5 volts. So I'll go ahead and unmute my sequence just by holding down opt and clicking on each one of the channels. And then as I turn this to the right, it's a bipolar knob, so 0 is actually in the middle. So that's very useful because you can get a sequence going and put some little fills in, either with some kind of manual controller like that or with an LFO. You could even use a clock divider and have it spit out some changes every once in a while. So I'll plug in like this clock divider over here. And like so. Okay, so to change the CV mode, there's a special menu, which is the special functions menu, and it's hidden a little bit. The reason being is that I try to put all the major functions within just like a click away from everything to make it as simple as possible. I want to make the modules as performance friendly as possible while jamming in, the features that we want, but at the same time making them not too crazy. So there's a special function menu, which is if you just go into the option menu and then you hold down mode for about a second, everything will start blinking. So like these 4 LEDs will blink and the functions that are chosen will blink. So real quickly, I'll show before we even change the CV mode. The top button is a manual reset. So we'll always send the sequence back to step 1. It's easy for, either just kind of doing that jittery restart of a sequence or of, syncing something up manually. The next button changes the option of normally when you change the length of the sequence from, say, 8 steps, 16 steps, 32 steps, it copies over all the data every time. So it doubles the sequence, which can be really helpful for building up a jam, but you may not always want that. So like it's really cool for like you start with an 8-step sequence, you make a simple beat, then you go to 16 steps, the same beat, it sounds exactly the same, and then you add in a few hits. But some people may not want that all the time, so I have the option there to turn that off. The next 3 buttons are, you can choose which one of them is going to be the CV effects of the reset input. So by default, it's on generate, which conveniently is on the generate label. The next one down is CV scrub, and then the last one is looper. So we'll go to CV scrub and exit this menu. And I'm going to go ahead and plug in the MV again to use that offset. And unmute my channels. I'm going to take the clock out. CV scrub will work at the same time as the clock, and they'll kind of fight each other. And it's really interesting. But I'm going to use it without the clock. And so when I scrub manually from 0 volts to 5 volts, it'll scrub through the playhead of the sequence. So. If the sequence is playing, you can kind of glitch it out. I can also use it with something like I've got the peg over here. the pingable envelope from 4 milliseconds, which will create these envelopes that are in time with the clock. And by adjusting the shape of the envelope, the amplitude of the envelope, and the speed of the envelope, I can get different effects of playback. So lots of glitchy fun can be had with that. And you can also do things like I can take the clock, put it back in, and then use the clock divider to just shoot off the envelope every once in a while from the 4 milliseconds peg. So that's really cool because it kind of adds this trill in where it just kind of like pushes the sequence forward very quickly and then goes back to normal. So you've got your normal sequence kind of fighting with that CV sequence. So then let's check out the third CV mode. So I'll go back to opt, hold down the mode for a second, and then just choose the last option down here. One thing to note also is that all the options in this menu are saved when you do the global save, so they come back. So I'll click opt again to get out. And now we're in looper mode. So let me go ahead and plug in the MV again into the reset input. Looper mode is actually my favorite. So the way that it works is at 0 volts, nothing happens. The sequence plays back normally. Then once it gets a little bit of voltage, it grabs the current step. So whatever step you happen to be on, 14, 17, 8, whatever. And then it starts looping a range. At the top of the range at 0 volts, or just above 0 volts, you'll be looping, say if you're in a 32 note sequence, you'll be looping 31 notes. As you get down closer to 5 volts, you'll get down to 1 note. So it's just repeating 1 note over and over again. And then as you let off of that voltage a little bit, that window will open. So like you'll be looping, 4 notes, 8 notes, etc. So let's go ahead and unmute again. And then I'm going to choose a different pattern that's a little bit longer. So that's looping, and that's the last feature. So I think they're fun. They're neat little ways that you can interact with the sequence as it's playing, make changes to it, or address it, directly. I chose not to do some features like, have a roll on every step, things like that. If you, triple click a button or something like that, because I wanted to make the module as fun and as usable as an instrument in its own right as possible. So it's tiny. It's 6 HP. But this was that one extra little thing, which was a lot of fun for me to implement, and it's a lot of fun for me to play with, especially the looper. But I think you'll find uses for a lot of those functions. So, all right, that's it.